please like and subscribe. Chapter 36, New Undercurrents. Hearing Hiruzen says Fugaku Uchiha you are the 5th Hokage, no one had any complaints and they started applauding while looking at Fugaku's dazed face. As for Fugaku himself, he didn't know how to feel about this. After all, this is his dream, a dream he gave up on a long time ago because of the terrible situation and the pressure his clan was under. Now however he was living that impossible childhood dream of becoming the first Uchiha Hokage and can help the Uchiha clan rise again, and it was all thanks to the kid standing behind him with his weird information network and ingenious planning. Without him knowing, a tear slid down his face, but different from the blood that dripped from his eyes when he was fighting Danzo from using his Mangekyo Sharingan. This was a tear of happiness. No one expected the stoic Fugaku to shed a tear, but it only made them warm up to him even more and understand just what kind of pressure this man was under. After all, if clan heads like them can't understand him, no one will. Meanwhile, seeing Fugaku shed a tear made Hiruzen think maybe this change is what the village needed before he too accepted him as the new Hokage from in heart and not just because of the situation. Looking at the reactions around me and their understanding looks toward Fugaku, I couldn't help but think people truly accept others more when they show their human side. Fugaku finally regained his calm, but he still smiled when he spoke. Thank you, everyone, for agreeing with this decision. I will make sure to live up to the expectations of the village and its people. Everyone nodded in approval with some saying, "We will be counting on you, 5th Hokage-sama." Fugaku almost didn't react to what that man said because being called Hokage-sama was unbelievable to him, but Hiruzen quickly helped to set the conversation back on track. We will hold a celebration later, but now we need to think about who will replace Danzo, Koharu, and Hamura as council members. At this, Fugaku quickly regained his stoic look and said, indeed, first we need to make sure that the root hideout is cleared and retrieve all the information and research that's there and see if we can integrate them into normal Umbu or keep them as separate unite. As for the other two, Hamura was responsible for our relations with the nobles of the Land of Fire while Koharu was responsible for the logistics, so we need 2 competent people in these 2 areas to replace them. I personally think that the 3rd Hokage will play a good role as a coordinator with the nobles of the Land of Fire. As for the logistics, I think the Hatake clan would be perfect for this because even though they are mostly civilians, their management skills are top-notch. The people here were surprised at Fugaku giving Hiruzen the spot of being responsible with the nobles since they are basically enemies, but a tactician like Shikaku quickly understood something and thought he's trying to distance Hiruzen even more from Koharu and Hamura by leaving him some power. Plus with Hiruzen having good relations with the nobles including the daimyo, the change in the Hokage won't cause a huge disturbance, not to mention that with this he can keep an eye on Hiruzen and his clan under the pretense of his duties. What a smart move. As for Hiruzen, he simply said I don't mind without showing anything on his face, while the others also accepted. But as for the second proposition, some had their complaints immediately. Hokage-sama, the Hatake clan is weak, and this might cause them to have issues when interacting with outsiders, said Choza Akimichi while thinking that his clan that's experienced in selling pills is a better choice, but someone didn't take too kindly to what he said. This man is Kakashi Hatake, the most famous ninja from the Hatake clan, even though he doesn't visit the clan after his father's death. Fugaku calmly said, if you are worried about their strength, I am sorry, but I don't think many people here can beat Kakashi. And I believe what they lack in strength, they make for in management skills. At this time Hiruzen decided to insert his opinion. I think it's a good idea, but we will have to get their opinion on it first. After all, I don't think Kakashi is a fit representative for the Hatake clan. Kakashi nodded since it was the truth, and Fugaku decided to take a step back for now and asked for the people's opinion on who was a good choice for this position, and they ended up with Hatake clan head Noka Hatake, Choza Akimichi, Hayashi Hyuga, and surprisingly Hiruzen proposed Tsunade while saying that even though she likes gambling she has very good management skills, which is true seeing how she didn't suck like him as a Hokage. Hayashi was chosen because the Hyuga clan has many businesses, especially in creating all kinds of medicine and ointments. Before long, Noka Hatake was invited to the meeting and liked the idea. He was a tall white-haired man with a muscular body despite his old age, and he has a friendly and natural aura that caused people around him to subconsciously relax. His eyes almost never left Kakashi when he entered, making him avert his eyes. With all 3 present, all of them started proposing business plans to convince the people around them to vote for them, and very quickly it was decided with Noka winning by a landslide. As most were satisfied and some were disappointed, the meeting was finally getting to the main point that needs to be addressed. Danzo's kidnapping, so Fugaku said congratulations to the two new council members, but now it's not time to celebrate. We need to quickly locate Danzo and prepare countermeasures in case he leaks information about us to other villages. We also. As the meeting was going on, unknown to everyone in the village, two old people were currently angrily discussing, how dare they humiliate us and dismiss us like that after all we did to the village. Those brats have no respect for their elders, Koharu said. Hamira slammed the table and said they will regret it very soon. It won't be long before they mess it up and come begging for our help. TCH damned the Danzo and the useless Hiruzen, just some pressure, and he caves in. As they were venting their frustration and the hatred building inside their hearts, a servant came rushing in and said, Hamira-sama, Kohara-sama, something urgent happened. Danzo was kidnapped by a masked man from his jail and his whereabouts are unknown right now. Ha ha ha. Koharu and Hamira started laughing. Serves them right, Danzo will sure come back for revenge. You can leave now, Hamira said to the servant before Koharu said with curiosity, I wonder who that masked man is. I will gladly reward him for such a slick move. Haha dash. Oh, how nice of you. I will gladly accept your reward. A voice interrupted her as a vortex appeared in front of them, and from within it, a masked man slowly emerged, his intentions unknown. Chapter 37, The Strongest Jutsu. Obito, or as currently will be known as Tobi, exited the vortex and stood before them. Koharu and Hamira's eyes squinted and they felt really nervous at this mysterious ninja that appeared in front of them out of nowhere. Feeling that their lives might be in danger, they both gave a signal to the two Jonin ninjas that always protect them from the dark, and they instantly attacked without wasting any time or hesitation. Hamira's guard was a man in the usual Konoha ninja outfit. He had short spiky brown hair and brown eyes and a very distinctive scar extending from his ear to his neck. Koharu's guard on the other hand was a short woman with straight short black hair and red eyes that seemed filled with bloodlust in contrast to her cute face, and she was preparing her attack against Tobi. The man used a short sword as a weapon and he directly rushed to Tobi to slash his head off, but to his surprise, his attack went straight through his body while Tobi's hand was quickly approaching his neck at the same time his blade was going to completely pass him through. However, the man had trust in the other Jonin's capabilities, and her helping indeed didn't take long or disappoint him, because she quickly weaved some hand seals in quick succession and locked eyes with Tobi as she cast a strong genjutsu, Thousand Thornbinds of Death. Unfortunately, this is the worst way a person can deal with an Uchiha, because the Sharingan gives very strong resistance to genjutsu, not to mention someone as skilled as Tobi that can put a whole squad of Umbu under genjutsu easily. And that's what happened, because the moment this woman thought she caught the masked man under her genjutsu, she found that she was the one inside of it, as vines filled with sharp thorns started slithering around her body, causing bloody and terrible lacerations wherever they go, and a terrible pain followed with them. Meanwhile, the man's sword finally passed through Tobi's neck completely, and Tobi didn't waste time and caught him from his neck in a stranglehold and looked in his eyes to also put him under a genjutsu before he threw him away like trash. This is why going against Tobi without knowing his abilities will 99% of the time end badly for you. The last 1% you need to be someone like Minato or the Raikage and can react very fast to avoid the initial surprise. Finished with these two, Tobi simply dusted his clothes to show his disregard to those guards who are foaming from the mouth right now because of the genjutsus they are under before he looked at Koharu and Hamira. Well, that was quite the exciting welcome. Do you always welcome people like this? What do you want? Yelled the nervous Koharu while Hamira was thinking of 1,000 ways to escape this situation, but he understood that no help will arrive in time with Konoha's forces busy searching for this masked man's tracks outside the village since they didn't find any inside, which caused him to despair, and Koharu arrived at the same conclusion. Death is near. Relax, I am only here to propose something to the two of you, said Tobi with a calm voice. Knowing they have a chance to talk themselves out of this situation, they both relaxed a little before Hamira asked, what is it you want from us? We have no more power inside the village, so we won't be able to help you, and if you want secret information you already have Danzo for that, so what do you want? I already know that. My offer is actually helpful to you, believe it or not. I have a grudge with the Uchiha clan and I am willing to help you get rid of them and even gain back your positions back, of course, that's if you are willing to fully cooperate, said Tobi, with some killing intent leaking when he mentioned his grudge. Of course, his grudge was also directed towards Konoha, but he won't tell them this. Seeing that they have a common enemy with the masked man, they relaxed even more. After all, the enemy of your enemy is your friend, and they can't escape this situation. However, they were still doubtful, so Koharu asked, what kind of grudge do you have with the Uchiha? That you don't need to know. what you need to know is that I almost pushed them to rebel to distract them with the village before I finished them off, but someone ruined my plans at the last minute and we ended up with this situation, said Toby in a resentful tone, and they didn't like the idea that he tried to use the village even if they also were pushing in that direction. Then were you really the one that attacked the village? Asked Hamiura. Oh, who told you that? Asked Toby curiously, since he didn't know what happened on the meeting room and that Hiruzen talked with Minato and Kushina. After all, he didn't have time to torture some information from Danzo yet. Minato told Hiruzen about this, said Hamiura, and Toby did his best to not show any reaction while thinking, so you are alive. Sensei. Toby felt glad that he was wearing a mask because they only saw his narrowed right eye as he said the fourth Hokage is still alive? Do you really believe this? I personally saw the battle between Fugaku and Danzo. This is obviously another secret jutsu from the Uchiha that was even capable of tricking Hiruzen. It's probably the same thing they used to control the Nine Tails 5 years ago. They tried to retort before they abruptly stopped when they remembered the weird shape Fugaku's eyes took in his fight against Danzo, and that weird ability is Sanaji that can even distort reality, so they thought it was possible for the Uchiha to have such an ability, causing them to tremble in fear. The whole village was tricked, they thought, as they looked at the horror in each other's eyes. What these two old teammates didn't know is Toby was only messing with them, but the Uchiha really had such an ability called Koto Amatsukami that only Bakorio and Fugaku knows who possessed it. We need to warn Hiruzen and the village started saying Kohara with worry, but Toby cut her off. You think they will believe you? They will simply say that you are trying to slander the Uchiha in order to get your lost authority back. What do you propose then? Asked Hamiura, and Toby quickly replied, I want you to pick the clans you trust the most and leave Konoha with them while I will prepare to put pressure with some connections I have with other villages, and once they cave in, you can come back and rescue the village. You will become heroes and save Konoha from the deceit of the Uchiha. Hearing this crazy plan, they weren't sure, but they felt that this is the only chance they have in saving Konoha from the deceit and lies of the Uchiha that even resorted to talking in the name of their dead hero, the fourth Hokage. As for whether those hidden villages will only put pressure or attack Konoha, they can simply side with Konoha if things get out of proportion, right? So blinded by wanting to regain their authority and hatred for the Uchiha, they made their minds influenced by Toby using the strongest jutsu in the world of Naruto. The Talk no Jutsu. Chapter 38, Transforming Village. After Toby successfully cast the Talk no Jutsu on Koharu and Hamiura by using their prejudice towards the Uchiha, they agreed to his proposal and finally remembered to ask, what's your name? Said Koharu. I am Toby, pleasure meeting you too, said Toby. Currently, the Akatsuki still did not have the same level of fame as in the original storyline since they didn't take action against the different Jinchuriki yet, with their members being Nagato, Pain, Konin, Toby, Zetsu, Kakuzu, Kisame, Sasori, Orochimaru, and the recently joined Juzo. But right now Toby wasn't known as a member even to most of the other members of the Akatsuki, and so they didn't react much to his name and only remembered his recent achievement of fighting the fourth Hokage and surviving, so they believed someone like this can help them in taking out the Uchiha even with how strong Fugaku seemed to be. Well then, please make your preparations to leave the village quickly while I have to go convince Danzo, said Toby as he started getting in a vortex again until he fully disappeared. Koharu and Hamiura heaved a sigh of relief and looked at each other in determination before they started discussing seriously about what clans to bring with them and who can be trusted for this noble mission before a groan interrupted them as their two guards woke up still shaking from the horrors they just experienced. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, I just received information from my clone about the current situation of Fugaku becoming the fifth Hokage and Danzo's kidnapping, so I turned to Itachi and Shisui that were still accompanying me but now with two more kids in the room and a woman. They were Naruto, Sasuke, and Makoto. Naruto was under the protection of some Umbu when the incident occurs and they only let him go when everything was settled. As for Makoto, she came here with Sasuke when she heard I was hospitalized and kept reprimanding me for getting involved in that fight and was so unhappy that Itachi and Shisui didn't escape her scolding because they a little about the plan. As I sorted out the new memories, I looked at the still angry Makoto and said the clone that accompanied Fugaku-san to the meeting dispelled himself just now, and I have some good news and super good news. What do you want to hear first? I decided not to tell her about Danzo's kidnapping to not worry her, and she simply snorted at me and said, quickly tell us both. I can see the curiosity in her eyes hidden behind her anger that only increased when she heard me say with a smile, "The good news is, our clan will be going back to the center of the village and we won't be under any pressure anymore because the people behind it are dismissed from their jobs. This is the good news." Everyone in the room felt really happy, especially Itachi and Shursui, because this was their dream, for the Uchiha to coexist peacefully with the village. "What's the super good news? Quickly tell us," said Sasuke with stars shining in his eyes from excitement, the same face he showed when I told him I battled a Kage-level ninja. "The super good news is, the village has a new Hokage," I said and paused to raise the suspense, causing everyone to start complaining, and Makoto gave me a death glare, so I quickly continued. "The new and fifth Hokage of the village hidden in the leaf is, Fugaku Uchiha," I said while emphasizing Fugaku's name, and they felt like a bomb exploded inside their heads. "Father is the new Hokage," said Sasuke in a low voice, before he said it again with excitement as if he just woke up from a dream. "Mother, Anasen, father is the new Hokage." Hearing his voice, they finally woke up from their daze, which only Naruto didn't fall in because he doesn't know Fugaku nor does he understand the Uchiha situation that much. The impact of this news can only be understood by Uchiha, as can be seen in Makoto, that started crying while holding her mouth with her hands and said, "Did Fugaku really become the Hokage?" Yes, hearing my confirmation, she broke down in even more tears. This same scene was repeating itself between the Uchiha members as the news of the new Hokage traveled around the village. Meanwhile, inside a different dimension, Tobi was having the same talk he had with Koharu and Hamura, but this time with Danzo, and the only difference is that it didn't take long for Danzo to agree when he was promised his life would be spared and he will get some Sharingans once they deal with the Uchiha instead. He even proposed something to Tobi. "There's someone that holds a grudge with Konoha, I think we can get his help quite easily," said Danzo with darkness and desire for vengeance swirling in his eye. "Oh, and who might this person be?" said Tobi coldly. "Orochimaru. Tell me something I don't know," thought Tobi in disappointment while thinking about that weird snake. 5 days later. I was finally released from the hospital to the shock of everyone because I recovered quickly thanks to some chakra I got from Kurama. It didn't feel that bad staying in the hospital because I always had people visiting me. Sometimes it's Makoto, sometimes Naruto and Sasuke, sometimes Hayashi or his family, including the now doing better Himawari and Shai Hinata. Who would have thought that the next time I meet her, I would be the one in bed severely injured? At the same time, many changes happened throughout the village. The damage from the battle was restored, and craftsmen already started carving Fugaku's face on the mountain chain behind Konoha. The Uchiha clan was relocated close to the center of Konoha, and the Hatake clan started taking care of the economy, which was one of the worst among the various hidden villages. The root Umbu were being integrated inside the normal Umbu successfully, and they were grateful for escaping the enslavement of Danzo. As for the research on Hashirama cells and other forbidden things that Danzo was doing, including some research on the Sharingan and Byakugan, and even would release that wasn't discovered after the escape of Orochimaru. One person that also benefited from this is Yamato, the only known wood style user, which resulted from an experiment Orochimaru did under the cooperation of Danzo. But even after Yamato left the root and joined Kakashi's team, he always had Danzo's curse seal, but not anymore, and now this kid with codename Tenzo was finally completely free. But the happiness and optimism didn't last for long, before today, to the shock of everyone during the usual meeting held at the Hokage Tower. Koharu and Hamura dropped a bomb saying that they are going to relocate from the village with their Utatane and Midokado clans, and 5 more clans decided to follow them, including 2 medium-sized clans and 3 small clans. Everyone was enraged by this decision, including the always pacifist Hiruzen. Koharu, Hamura, are you too crazy? With the village weakened after the incident 5 years ago, you want to leave with 5 more clans? Hamura's stoic face didn't change at all and only felt that he was doing good. While no one can understand him, we already made our decision, Hiruzen. We will be leaving tomorrow and relocate somewhere else. Hiruzen tried to change their mind, but Fugaku raised his hand to stop him and coldly looked at them. Once you leave, you will never have a home in Konoha again. No, you won't have a home in this world anymore soon, thought both Koharu and Hamura ruthlessly. Chapter 39, Lurking Threat and New Home. Even though Fugaku was really angry with the current situation, which was basically 7 clans betraying the village, killing them wasn't an option because the village too will lose a lot, and it's not like everyone from these clans are guilty. In the end, those at the bottom can only follow the orders of those above them. Only a ruthless person with twisted morals like Hiruzen and the previous council can order for the death of innocents, including kids, and still sleep at night. Not to mention it would reflect badly on him to order such a huge massacre and make his position as a Hokage unstable among the civilians. Add to that how low the morale would get, it will also cause many problems with the daimyo of the Land of Fire. The two old foxes, Koharu and Hamura, understood all of this. That's why they acted boldly in such a situation. If it was only their two clans, the situation would be way different. Of course, with all that said, Fugaku would be a fool if he lets them go away without paying a price, and a heavy price they paid. They were required to provide all their clan's secret jutsus, 70% of their wealth, and they were forbidden from relocating on the Land of Fire. They had to go somewhere else. If any requirement isn't met, a massacre would start, and there were no negotiations in this. This is the attitude of a firm Hokage. If this happened under Hiruzen's rule, he would just sigh helplessly and let them leave without any punishment while saying I just want peace like an idiot. As those 7 clans left, the news about them deserting the village spread like wildfire throughout Konoha, as if it was intentional. This caused a huge disturbance, and some people that didn't know better even grew fearful, thinking the village was left unprotected. Of course, this wasn't something that escaped from the notice of the higher-ups, and they had to try to calm the civilians, so Shikaku came up with a simple strategy, and a sentence quickly started spreading throughout the village. The village lost its deadweight, and its time to rise has come. When the people heard this, even though some were still fearful, they started to have hope for their village to grow to be a better place. Meanwhile, inside the meeting room, only Fugaku, Shikaku, Hiruzen were still in the room as Fugaku complimented his Jonin commander Shikaku. That was a brilliant idea. Now instead of fear, the villagers have hope. Hiruzen nodded in agreement and also gave a compliment of his own. Indeed, Shikaku is always reliable when it comes to strategies. Shikaku simply shrugged. Well, it's just my job causing the other two to smile, but not for long. As Fugaku said, it seems that even though those 7 left the village, they still have some influence. And for us to not be able to locate where the rumors generated from is really worrying. Shikaku nodded this time. Serious. I agree. I also feel that something is happening we don't know about. It's impossible for those careful elders to leave Konoha just like that, and for those clans to follow them, and some even still working as spies for them. Here means they had something really convincing to say that could lead whole clans to migrate. Add to that how they readily agreed to your strict conditions. It's as if Fugaku completed his words as his eyes started shining in a scary light, as if they think they will get them back soon. Hiruzen frowned at this scary theory and said, but what could be so convincing? Shikaku said one word: Danzo. And these two quickly understood. Did the masked man made another move without our knowledge? All three thought as they started to worry for the future. It seems like I have to use Shursui sooner, thought Fugaku as a plan started formulating on his mind. As I was on my way to the new Uchiha compound along with Makoto and Himawari that started to become friends using me as a shared point of interest, we heard about the rumor of the 7 clans leaving, which made the two of them worried and got me thinking those spineless cowards actually made such a move. Only Obito can convince them of such a thing, since no other people can infiltrate the village like him. Let's see what Fugaku decides to do. Otherwise, I will have to ask Mukai to give them a visit and get rid of their main combatants, or at least send Shursui to manipulate either Koharu or Hamura to get them as spies. I thought, not knowing that my second idea is the same as Fugaku's, and currently he's planning on who to send along with Shursui on this mission. As we got close to the Uchiha compound, Himawari took her to leave, but not before giving me a hug and asking to visit and play with Hinata sometimes. As for the new compound, it finally felt like this is one of Konoha's noble clans with the better architecture and quality of structures, not to mention the Uchiha logo was already painted everywhere, as if the people inside will forget where they are. An old dog never changes, tch, I thought. Makoto led me in front of a huge house, saying this is where they live now, before she pointed at a house just in front of it and said, Bakorio-kun will be living just right in front of us, this way you can visit us all the time. I was surprised at the luxurious house I was given and asked curiously, was this your idea? Makoto smiled brightly and said proudly, of course. Well, I know Bakorio-kun likes to keep his privacy and won't accept living with us, so I pestered Fugaku for the past 5 days to give you the closest house to ours until he accepted. I smiled back at this woman that always warms my heart and tries to be understanding before I said thank you, I will make sure to visit a lot. And received a happy smile in return, so I said I am going to check my house, I will come when it's time for lunch. She gave me the house keys and said, "Okay, we will be waiting for you." And with this out of the way, I started checking my house better, and it was really big. It was a traditional Japanese two-story house with a small front garden and a huge garden in the back with a pond inside that has a shurshuro doshi, which is a segmented tube, made of bamboo, pivoted to one side of its balance point. At rest, its heavier end is down and resting against a rock. A trickle of water into the upper end of the tube accumulates and eventually moves the tube's center of gravity past the pivot, causing the tube to rotate and dump out the water. The heavier end then falls back against the rock, making a sharp sound, and the cycle repeats. Originally, this device was intended to startle any herbivores such as deer or boars which may be grazing on the plants in the garden, but now they are used primarily for their aesthetic value. Let hope the inside of this house is as good as the outside. Chapter 40, Birthday and Mission. As I entered my house and saw that it was as good inside as it is outside, I thought, I need to bring Naruto to live with me here. After all, why leave that kid alone when I don't need to worry about bringing him to the Uchiha compound anymore? Done with my inspection, I started thinking about what to do for the future now that the Uchiha situation is better. First, I need to deal with Danzo. I can go back in time and try to stop his kidnapping, but we won't have this situation and get rid of those flies easily. Plus, I want to see how this situation develops and gather as much information as possible from it, especially on the Akatsuki. I will also have to take care of Mukai's family as promised. Fugaku will certainly not like the bills. I spent the rest of the morning adjusting my body and checking how well it recovered, and I found that I was back at 100% of my previous power and fully healed. I also noticed that when my bones were broken, I got many debuffs, like things that slowed down my recovery, so I didn't heal just like my stats said, which disappointed me a little. I thought that after an hour I would heal from anything, but it seems I was wrong. But at least I know most people would have been crippled from these injuries, not to mention heal them in few days, so I concluded that I can always heal from almost anything, but the healing factor will be affected by the condition of my body and the outside factors I use to help to heal it, like medical ninjutsu, Kurama's chakra medicine, etc. Seeing that it was close to lunchtime, I sent a clone to bring Naruto over so he can eat with us rather than alone and depressed, and Makoto gladly accepted and even kept apologizing to him. Makoto and Kushina were close friends, and she always wanted to take care of Naruto, but the situation in the village never allowed it, unfortunately. It was rare for Fugaku and Itachi to be available at lunch, but today both of them were present, and surprisingly Shisui, Hayashi, and his family were also here, so I curiously asked when I saw them looking at me weirdly, "What's going on?" Naruto and Sasuke yelled at the same time excited "Happy birthday Bakorio," and the rest of the people also started congratulating me while helplessly looking at the two kids that likes to compete at everything. So today is the 9th of June, huh? I totally forgot that this is my new body's birthday. Not wanting to appear rude, I thanked everyone first before I started enjoying the happy atmosphere. "Bakorio-kun, come blow on this cake and make a wish." I was dragged by Naruto and Sasuke towards the cake. Sasuke truly wanted me to make a wish, while Naruto just wanted to get this over with to eat the cake. "Little brat, I will deal with you later," I thought as I stood in front of the cake thinking what I should wish for before I remembered the wish that I always had, causing a feeling of melancholy to raise in my chest, and I blew the 6 candles on the cake. "I hope this new life free my chained heart from its shackles." "What did you wish for, Bakorio?" said the excited Sasuke, causing everyone to show curiosity, including the stoic Fugaku. I thought about saying the truth for an instant, but I didn't think it was worth it to ruin this atmosphere, so I smiled and said I wished for my life to be even more enjoyable along with the people I care for. As I looked at the people in the room, everyone smiled at my wish, especially Makoto and Himawari, whose eyes started shining in happiness. And just like that, the birthday continued with people giving me gifts, including the shy Hinata, and everyone enjoyed their time before they left. At this time, Fugaku called me along with Shisui and Itachi to talk privately. Here it comes, I thought, and indeed once we were alone in the room, Fugaku started talking. "I am sure you three heard about the clans that deserted the village, right?" All three of us nodded, and he continued. "We suspect that the reason they left isn't simply because they are dissatisfied with me being the Hokage or the previous council members being dismissed. No, we believe that the masked man that kidnapped Danzo is responsible for this." Fugaku stopped here and looked at our reactions, and he saw that Shisui simply frowned while Itachi looked fearful for some reason. As for me, I didn't react because I already guessed this much, so both my reaction and Shisui's didn't surprise him. What surprised him is Itachi's reaction, so he asked him, "What's wrong, Itachi?" Itachi, who quickly calmed down, said, I believe this masked man is the person that killed my teammate Tenmei Izumo when we were sent on our mission to protect the daimyo. He had a weird ability that allowed him to pass through things, and I guess he used it to infiltrate the village and kidnap Danzo. Fugaku remembered this incident that happened around 3 years ago and frowned a little. It seems this guy is targeting our village for a long time, thought Fugaku before he saw Itachi hesitating to say something, so he asked, don't worry, and say what's on your mind. During that incident, the Yambu protecting the daimyo and his 12 other guards were all caught inside a genjutsu by this man, so he's very skillful at it, but what perplexed me is that he knew my name, and what's surprising even more than that is that when he was about to kill me he felt Kakashi Hatake approaching and he knew him just from his chakra signature, which I found weird at the time, so Kakashi might have information on who he is or he faced him before, said Itachi with a thoughtful look. Fugaku also grew thoughtful before he said, I will have to ask Kakashi directly later. It's good we have an idea on what he's good at in terms of abilities. As for why I called you here, I want you three to go on a mission and help Shisui use his ability on either Koharu or Hamura and control them to act as spies for us. Itachi was surprised. Shisui's ability? Father, is it something like what you did in your fight with Danzo? Even though Itachi wasn't present, he heard about his father's eyes changing to something different from the normal Sharingan. Fugaku sighed at this question before he turned to Shisui, who nodded at him before he looked at Itachi. Itachi, our clan's eye powers can evolve to something more than just the Sharingan. When a person from our clan experiences huge emotions, they unlock their Sharingan, but when they experience even deeper emotions, they unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan. The abilities of the Mangekyo Sharingan differ from one person to another, and my ability is Koto Amatsukami. Itachi asked while surprised at this information. Koto Amatsukami? Yes, this ability allows me to manipulate a person's senses and basically have complete control over them without them even realizing. This is the ultimate genjutsu, said Shisui seriously as his normal 3-tomo Sharingan started transforming to a 4-point pinwheel shape, leaving Itachi shocked at his best friend. Suddenly the back he always chased after and thought was close seemed so far away. And, the main character is born in the 9th of June, making him around a month and a half older than Sasuke and 4 months older than Naruto.